Hey guys, sorry about that. I'm trying something new today. I don't know if it's happening. My name is Cheryl. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. We are live on the RSS feed today. I'm hoping we're live on the RSS feed. It says I'm live. That's what I was looking at. I was clicking my buttons. Anyway, my name is Cheryl. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team based out of Sacramento, California. We are 45 strong up and down the state, and that means if you think you have a paranormal problem, we can get to you. It might take us a while, but we can definitely get to you to help you out. We do have, in the case that it takes us a while to get to you, we do have psychics on staff who can phone you and talk to you about what may or may not be going on. And in most cases, they can calm calm whatever's there down until we can get to you. So that's one of the big pluses. But it usually doesn't take us more than 2 or 3 days to get to you because of the locations. I mean, because we got people everywhere. That being said, I'm hoping, and I'm going to say hello to the RSS feed because I'm supposed to be broadcasting live out to the RSS feed. Plus, we're broadcasting to Facebook today. We're broadcasting to YouTube. We're broadcasting to Twitch and Twitter today. So we're broadcasting in a lot of places today. So hopefully that all goes well because you never know. It's the first time we've attempted this. Okay, that being said, if you're watching from Facebook, and a lot of you are, please feel free to hit the follow button if you haven't done so already, because that helps us. That helps us, build our following over there. And if you like what you see in here today, please be sure to give us a thumbs up, happy hearts, happy faces, things like that. Show us some love, and comment in the chat room. If you comment in the chat room, that puts us up higher in what they call the FYP, which is the For You page. And that means they will distribute us out to more people and more views. Same thing with YouTube. We have almost 1,000 videos over YouTube, and they're all of this show. Believe it or not, they're all of this show. In fact, we're at show like 240 for this season. This is number 240. Lots of shows. But there's almost 1,000 shows over YouTube, and they're all different topics. So I've started categorizing them in folders. And if it's something that interests you, check it out. Nancy Matz has her own folder. We have a cryptid folder, etc., etc. So you don't have to search through all that stuff. It gives me a headache when I see it, too. So all you have to do is go to the folder. Again, same rule applies. If you haven't subscribed already, please feel free to do so. We're always building up our subscribers. And show us some love, thumbs up, happy faces, things like that. And help us out, just like in the chat room, chit-chat. Same thing with Twitch. All the online places, the social media online places work the same, basically the same. So that's all I ask is that you show us some love and click, follow us and do all that good stuff. If we are going off the RSS feed, which I'm really excited about right now, welcome you guys, and hopefully somebody's watching the live show because you guys aren't used to the show being live, so this is a first time for everything out there. So I want to thank you guys who, if you end up watching live, thank you, okay, or listening live. Okay, well, today's going to be an interesting day. Nancy Matz is with us. We're going to be talking about past life intrusions, and she's got some great information about that. And so we're sliding into the weekend. I've been doing a lot of yard work, a lot of stuff around the house, and pretty soon I'll be able to maybe do a couple broadcasts from a backyard. That's what I'm hoping to do. My backyard turns into a very magical place, and I love it. I love it when I have it done, so I'm really excited about it, and the closer I get. I'm probably looking at about a week and a half to go, and I can really start, turning that yard into a really, really, really magical place. Let me pull Nancy up, and away we go.
Hi, everybody. I'm modern. You notice I have the earbuds in tonight, and everything works. Hopefully, you'll hear me good. I also got some reading. You got some reading glasses. There's not supposed to reflect it, though I do see it. So there is ways you can tone it down. It really helps be able to see better. So tonight is I had.
Say hello to the RSS feed. We're live on the RSS feed.
Hello, RSS feed. How sweet. How nice that you're able to hear us live. I'm actually flabbergasted. People from around the world can hear our voices. Of course, there's 10,000 of us out here trying to do shows, but it's nice to be found. And anyway, tonight I need to ask Shar, do you have a class after this hour?
I do not have a class.
Oh, good. We may go a little longer. Unbeknownst to me, I accidentally erased remember we did a show on this somewhere else some other time, accidentally erased it. So I spent about 4 hours today retyping, and it got really busy. So tonight is a tough one. Past life intrusion, positive but negative. Most of them are negative, very few are positive. But this is a big topic. And one of my favorite topics now, of course, this topic, but one of my favorite um, to talk about is past lives, particularly
Mhm.
children's past lives. I'm a great grandma. Come on, they're little girls, and the great granddaughter just graduated kindergarten, so we had a family get together. Can you imagine eighth grade graduation? She had a little gown. It was just precious. But anyway, I do have children, grandchildren, and great grandchildren, and it's been quite a journey in my life. I am older, in my mid 70s now, so I've earned the moniker of great grandma. And past life intrusions have been in my life most of my adult life. And I'm going to address a couple of them, one positive, one negative, and other things that I've learned. What I've typed up, I read volumes. And if I'm not watching YouTube, I'm reading up on articles everywhere. So some of this you've seen and heard somewhere else, but in 33 years I've been doing this, I've done too many past lives to remember. In the course of the session, I will all of a sudden get visions of the
Okay,
past, which I'll not mention
hold on. You
tonight.
have some crackling going on. You have some crackling going on while you're talking.
There's nothing going on here. I,
Yeah, I'm hearing crackling.
do you hear it while I'm talking?
Yeah,
I,
I think
I,
it's when you're moving your head with the headset
oh,
with the earbuds in.
okay.
Move
If
your
I
head.
sit still, huh?
Move your head. Move your
Okay,
head.
so I want to talk about past lives. I want to start out with Raymond Moody. If you Google Raymond Moody on the cycle of reincarnation, prof- he's a wonderful fellow. Many life
Yeah,
between
you got a
lives, and
crackle going
oh,
on.
just
You got a bad. You got a crackle going on. Is there another headset you could use?
yeah. Okay, so everybody, just hold on a
Switch.
minute. I got to take
Let
these out.
Nancy switch
Yes,
headsets here. We got issues. Sound issues again, but that's okay. I mean, this is how we find things out. It's not an issue. But like I said, I've been cleaning my yard. Just bear with us. And yeah, we're gonna start meditating and stuff out in my backyard, which is gonna be really fun. Okay. Can you hear me?
okay, Shar, how are you hearing me now?
I hear you great. Can you hear me?
And for
Okay.
you,
All
can you
right.
hear me?
Yep. Let's continue. She lost her place. So here we go.
Can you hear me now? No?
Yeah. Yep. Go for it.
Take me out and let me come back in.
Okay. I'm gonna kick her out for a second, guys. Just bear with me. Because last Friday we had a lot of sound issues, and we don't want to go through that again today. So let her get hooked up. Remember to put your mics, set your mics up in StreamYard and everything to make sure you got everything going. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
Drop me out. Let me come back in.
Okay. Give us a second. Yeah, we had a lot of issues last week where we couldn't even hear her. So I'm just trying to make sure because I don't want you guys to hear a crackly mic either for the show. So let her push her buttons and stuff. She needs to make sure she's. And the way StreamYard works, you have to make sure you're not only hooked in with Stream. Like I use what they call the Scarlet 212, and so I have to make sure that the mic system and the speaker system on StreamYard is hooked into all that's checked off. Just like with the audio little speaker picture, I have to make sure that I'm on the Scarlet. With that, and then there's another button to push to make sure I'm on that the computer's reading the Scarlet. So it's just extra buttons to push. So hopefully she's ready to go. So here we go. Sorry about the delay, you guys. Are you good? Are you good?
It's okay. I'm working.
Can you hear me?
Everything is working. Do you want me to put the
All right, let's
earbuds
go.
back in?
No, that's fine. This is 100% better. So let's go. Go ahead and start.
I typed a
Can,
message.
uh, no. Stay with what you got. Stay with this. No earbuds. Hang on, guys. No, I don't want. Okay.
I could not hear you. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, put the earbuds in and see what it sounds like. You can't hear me?
Shar?
Yeah. Can
Hi,
you hear me?
Shar. Yeah. Is it better?
Yeah, that's 100% better. Yep, no crackling.
There's nothing I did. There's nothing I really did other than change headset and to go back. I'm so sorry,
Or maybe you
everybody,
just
but I
need.
really,
Maybe you just needed to. Maybe you just need to reconnect. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to just reconnect. Okay, guys, here we go. Nancy, begin your show.
hello, everybody. This is so frustrating. I'm so sorry. Raymond Moody, a very interesting fella. Please look him up. Raymond Moody, Moody, on the cycle of reincarnation on YouTube. He talks about Pythagoras coined the term philosophy. He was a reincarnationist, can you imagine, 4,000 years ago, claimed to remember his past lives. He also taught his students how to adjust their thinking process and access their past lives. So, what he asked them to do is when you get up in the morning, you wake up, you turn over, before you get out of bed, he wanted everybody to recapture by memory the day before. And then the next day, you remember the day before, the day before. And he tried to get them to remember a week or 2 weeks at a time, which is kind of hard. I don't even know how you can do that. Um, but that's what he said in this. You need to listen to it. And that way he taught them how to access memory in the past. And so you got relaxed to the idea that it is attainable, that you can remember. Now, I want to put my own thoughts on this. I don't believe our mind is a movie and a film of everything in our mind. When I do readings, I've been doing for 33 years. I do not feel that your thoughts are little pictures in all the wirings in your brain. I think that everything that happens in your life is a trigger to a day in the past. So if you were able to remember something from high school, pick a day and go back. Graduation. I married my high school sweetheart, and I can remember his graduation like it was yesterday. I can feel it. I can sit on the bench. I can watch him, a little stinker that he was. He was in the front row with the best friend, and they were playing cards. They took their shoes off and socks, and they were in the shorts, but they had the gowns on. And they were stinkers. I remember that just like it was yesterday. Is that memory in my brain somewhere because I can feel the bench? Or did I access time? I believe we access time. And by doing so, we access our past lives also. Your past life is not in a memory in your mind, it is in the past. So when I equate the idea of a past life regression, which I'm getting more into, I really am enjoying this. I do it by video, by Skype. And the last few times, I have a lady that's next 2 weeks. Hello, I know she's out watching this. It's so interesting to me now that I'm older, I can take my time and my mind, I don't have to run at 1,000 miles a minute doing a reading. And I enjoy the visual of what you present to me. I can travel your timeline to the day you witness a past life as you witness it first person. And it goes by so fast. The other day, 2 weeks ago, I had a young man, and we had gone 55 minutes. I don't know how I do this, but I can help someone drop down. And so I bypass a lot of steps. Don't ask me how, I just do. And he said, how do you see what I see? And he said, we were 55 minutes, it felt like five. And I explained to him that I accessed his time, not in his mind. I cannot capture a feeling of the sun on me in your time. I have to be in time. And I believe this is a form of also remote viewing. And I said on last week's show, in space travel, I think there'll be people like me, like in the movie Dune, those special, talented people, and we'll be in space with our mind. Why not? If I can travel to Malta or somewhere else and describe the city streets, hello, or see a house being remodeled in Italy, or see the gentleman my lady in China will, Singapore will marry. There's something to be said about accessing different locations and time and distance. Why not a past life? Sometimes it's hard to believe that we even survive our death. And I want to explain to you this is the reason I'm doing these videos. All these years seeing spirit people walk around. Oh, please, like you bothered me again. Who do you belong to all the time? And so I'm not tuned in all the time, just when their presence are so strong that I cannot ignore it. And when I do reading and I'm looking at the person over the phone, we did this with Char one night, and people
Hmm.
call in, and the show was called "Who's Standing Next to You?" And Char was
Right.
89, 8 or 9 people calling in, and I did this a couple of times at different shows, and all I did was describe the spirit person sit next to that person I was talking to. How is that possible? How can I fold time and distance and see with my eyes somewhere else? Well, why not anywhere else? Why not in time? And so that's my little special gift. I'll never forget. I forget. I didn't even write this one down. I never forget. I was doing a learning exchange in Sierra Vista, Arizona, next to Tombstone, and I was so
Hmm.
it was so fun. I was able to have a group of women, mostly a little older, and maybe 25, 30, and they were kind of like a network around me. And I can dip into people's trips, and I saw a caveman, wah, 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 arms bent, just jumping up and down. I go, oh no, something was over. I said to the ladies, I said, I want to just kind of speak up of a couple, and I did. And and then I put my hand over here, not to embarrass somebody, look at someone particular, because what if that woman, mostly women were to my right, I said, what if that woman doesn't want to admit I was that caveman? I went like this over here. I said, which one of you were the caveman? And this 90-pound, 90-year-old woman raises her hand. She says, oh, that was me. Oh, see, I'm sorry. And it was just everybody started laughing. I thought, oh, this is so fun. It really triggered in me. That was about 10 years ago. Triggered in me the importance of a past life. And I had asked her, I said, what did you get from that? She says, oh, I had so much fun. Oh, and it was a male. It wasn't a woman like her. And here's this very senior lady and her experience of being a caveman. What can you learn from it? Well, the other side of the coin is now that she had gone back there, clearly she saw very clearly, she could see very clearly. And I did think about this later. What if we open the door to the acceptance of the idea that it's possible? How many of us would now try to go back and find out more lifetimes?
Hmm.
Hmm. So how do you deal with it? And that's the one thing I want to talk about. I've had a negative and a positive past life regression, and I had one so and so. And so that first one I experienced was just as I was getting into this environment, May 1990. And I saw myself as a boy living with his father in the desert. If there was a mother, it wasn't like important at the moment. And I was a kid, a boy, and he was what we call a wheel maker. So the father would make a metal strip and put it around wet wood and mold it to be a wheel. And I thought his work was just terrible. It was so boring. And I would take the ones that didn't work, and I would, as you saw, the turn century little kids with sticks and a wheel, and they would play and hit it with a stick and run after it. Well, let me tell you, it went back to the early Roman times when someone created a wheel, kids saw it as a toy. So I grew up and I joined the military to get away from my father. And guess what? I had a job as a runner between camps. Never saw that before in my life. I didn't even know it existed. Well, sure enough, I told my husband. He looked it up. And between encampments, oh, I see that reflection now, instead of in the horse going across the landscape At night, they would send an individual with messages to different camps saying what they're going to do. Guess who? Me. And unfortunately, during the middle of the night, I tripped and broke my knee. So I was sent home, ended up being a wheel maker for the rest of my life. In this lifetime, I've always been very active, athlete, a runner, horse person. So having a past life, did I make that up to fit what I am today? Or was that something to prove to me that my love of running was brought from a past life? Possibly, but I was always this way. Maybe I brought that interest from then to now because all my childhood I was very, very active. So that was the okay lifetime. Particularly didn't care for it being a wheel maker, but anyway, I want to continue with Raymond Moody. Um, he also formulated a statement speaking of past life memories. Why do we do not remember them? We have all experienced a moment called an event boundary, stating that our minds compartmentalize experiences and then that memory is finished. So a past life could be the same way. I went through a past life regression to access a life that was important to this lifetime. The regressionist, a gentleman, been in the business decades and decades. He was much older than I am today. And he was amused by me because I didn't believe it. He says, just give me a couple days, a week, month, year, just ponder it. And what got me was the heat of the sand because I would run barefoot. And so there's always going to be something in the regression because you can make it all up, but there's going to be something to get your attention. He then goes on and he wants to talk about, remember, this gentleman is 75 or 80 years old now, and I met him, and he's just wonderful. He speaks of his children who he adopted when in his 50s. His boy told him when he was 5 years old, they were watching TV together. Flipping through the channels, he stopped Dad and said, Dad, that is my village. Dad being confused, Carter said, he said, don't be confused. That was in my past life. And the father, Mr. Moody, still looked at him kind of strangely. And he said, now I want to tell the audience that I have never introduced religion to the children. My wife and I, we just not church people. So up to this point, the 5-year-old had no idea what reincarnation was or beliefs in anything. What threw off the father was his innocence. And the Asian marketplace in the village somewhere in the world was not something the child had ever even witnessed before. And he says, "Oh my God, that was my village, my village. I miss that so much." And then the father, a smart man, he says, "Would you tell me the rest of the story?" And he says, "Well," uh, he went on to talk about the village, and he said, Dad being confused, Carter then added that he had watched me and my wife from up of a tree before he was born. And the father said, after the description of how the fields looked around him, he said, I knew exactly where it was. My wife and I were at an archaeological dig in Greece, and it was hot, and we were very tired. And the man who was in charge of the dig said, I can see you're tired. If we're going to dig longer, why don't you just lie over there on the grasses and take a nap? And so, and he and his wife went over there and they started talking about having children. And this child said he was up in a tree watching them talk about having him. And then they turned around. 5 years later, they adopted this boy. So the Raymond knew exactly when this child was speaking. And he said, how can I deny that? How did he know where we were, what we were doing, talking about adopting a child? So remember, these two were adopted. And I've always believed, this is my theory, that if you do not have the child that you are meant to bear, that child will show up some other way to come in your life, not necessarily for biological material from you, but emotional upbringing. The emotional upbringing of the child is most of what we are about. You can come from any groups of people and be raised by another group of people and be an emotionally healthy adult. His second child, who he adopted, came from an Indian reservation, and they were both infants. And the second child, when they were visiting Japan, her little name is Carol Ann. She was adopted. at birth, she spoke to Raymond about how she was with God, and God pointed out Raymond to her. And she said she had to go down there to be his daughter. She didn't want to. She said, I want to be with Gotti, Gotti. She wanted to be with Gotti. She wanted to stay with Gotti. And God said, no, you'd have to be his daughter. And she resisted. She resisted. And then she said, God pushed me right down to earth, and I became his daughter. Now, what 3, 4, 5-year-old wouldn't be able to have that conversation with their dad, right?
Mhm.
To me, that's a little intrusive. The first boy chose him and his wife. The second child went, oh no, I'm not going. Yes, you are. Kawampa. I haven't heard too many stories where the child resists, but she said she didn't want to go, and he pushed her down. He believes his child and their truthfulness, as I have with my clients. And I have told this story. I have so many. I have a couple written here. Um, I got to share this one anyway. So my friend just passed away. Her name is Camille, and she passed away about 3 weeks ago. And I just got the call. I've been waiting for her to show up, and she hasn't. So she may be in recovery. I'm not going to tell you she had 20 years of illnesses. It just anyway. When I met her, it was May 1990. She was there the first night that I was in the class. We became fast friends. And a couple of years later, she calls me up screaming into the phone, "Oh my God." And I go, what is wrong with you? She says, my granddaughter came in from another room and I was watching TV and I was watching National Geographic and they were talking about Peru and the villages up on the mountain. And she come in and the little granddaughter, 3 years old, said, oh, remember when we lived there and I was big and you were small?
Mhm.
And Camille turned around. I said, please, will you stop screaming? Turn around and talk to her and ask her to tell you the rest of the story. And she did. And then she called me back and she said that the little granddaughter had told her that a bad man had come to the village and hit everybody in the head with a stick. Come to find out, in that village, the little girl was her father, Camille's father. Remember? The little girl said, remember when we lived there and I was big and you were small. I love that. And if you've known Camille, very educated, very wonderful woman, not a lick of per- pretendness, pretentiousness in her, not at all. And I have truly believed her. I have so many stories about her. um, so Raymond's daughter may unconsciously harbor some displeasures being forced in this life. So does her personality reflect this idea? Is she defiant, challenging, a daredevil? All those actions sometimes present to us those issues from a past life of resistance. Um, and I have a child that was born in his lifetime angry. And I always contributed to a very difficult birth. But maybe she said, uh-uh, no, I don't want to come. I have been told of children that are born easily. And then some of them, like mine, she said, last minute, I'm not coming. She flipped right upside down. And the doc said, I've never seen a child engaged one way and then one day later flip over upside down and backwards. So I kind of sometimes I'll joke with her. She was a difficult baby. And then she turned about 2.5, 3 years old, and she was just fine. Um, I believe some past life memories are felt, not necessarily seen, as Carol Ann Raymond's daughter had experienced. Example, the child seems to, and I want to address some of these issues of um, past life intrusions. The child may not remember, but they act out, they are felt. So you could have some of these children in your life and you may shake your head and, well, that child is just the child acts this way because the father did. Not necessarily. You know, we have brilliant children that are difficult. We have easy children that are just wonderful. It doesn't matter. But these are the ones that my children, clients' children have shown with me. Dozens and dozens have stories told to me, and at first I slept it off. I can't deny it anymore. And it was so hard for me to believe that I could do this and talk to dead people in the first place. And then when I had friends call me and talk about these children and past life intrusions, and then the glory of YouTube came along, And I had a flood of fun reading a verification of children's past lives. It's just wonderful. The child that seems to have been born angry. And I know a lot of people say, well, I know a child born angry, cry and anger, not necessarily physical, but just angry, object to everything. A child has grown from being angry, changes jobs too often, always move around the country, or with relationships, struggling in an unattainable unconsciousness strife to be happy. And I think we all know people like that. It doesn't seem to matter what goes on. They always seem to have issues and problems with people. They can't get along. They can't get comfortable. They can't. Sometimes these people just didn't want to be here. But then I believe we choose a life for the experiences, and people say, oh, karma will come around next lifetime. No, honey, it doesn't work that way. You come in for experience of a particular life. Whatever you see of that life, that's what you're going to have. And whether you take it as positive or negative, that is your lesson. I think I chose this life to do this. But getting here wasn't easy. Married early, had family, married a police person. Got divorced after stage 3.5 cancer, stage 3.3 cancer. Got us a year and a half later to find out why bad things happen to good people. So with that, here I am 33 years later. I quit a 24-year career to do this full time because I felt it's that important. Of course, I didn't think I was going to live either. So why not help people until I died? I just didn't. Um, Children that compare happiness to being back home. You'll hear a child once in a while say, I don't like it here. You don't like it here. And people look, well, that's kind of what they mean is they don't particularly like being here, like little Carol Ann. She'd rather be there. I have not heard this once, but maybe 2 or 3 times. The child talks about not wanting to be here. I want to go back home. So if you start watching some of these wonderful YouTubes, I'll give you a couple of names here. By the way, I'll be giving a lot of references to movies and books later on. So if you want pencil and paper, look for it now. Um, How about the child that experiences nightmares? How many parents have said, child doesn't sleep all night, she's 3 years old, 4 years old? The child, as soon as it goes to sleep, will thrash about in bed. It's not necessarily my nightmare, it could be a memory. When the child wakes up, ask for a story. If the child is sitting drawing or pencil and paper in hand, have them draw a picture of themselves, have a draw experience. Get it out of them. And meaning, have them help them release. So imagine if you've seen any of the YouTubes, you've seen a little man on fire falling into the ocean, the story of James number 3. And this is a poor little child that did not sleep well. Parents are fit to be tied. All the drawings were of a World War II fighter jet falling into the ocean, caught on fire. And so this little boy is named James, and he was James in that past life. And there was another James on the aircraft carrier that he flew off of. Everything he talked about, drew pictures about, naming the ship, naming his crews, everybody. He was absolutely on the target with all his stories. And in the end, if you see it, they actually found out where it was because other people on the ship saw the plane ditch into the ocean. I don't know if that's the right word, ditch. And he put a reef into the water and said goodbye. So now the boy is 15 or 16 years old, and I've seen a recent interview, and he's forgotten a lot of the memories. But now he feels like he's free from that life to continue in this one because this is an important life. Whatever he chose here, maybe sometimes this experience of coming back and being safe. One little boy I wrote on here, I'll probably have to repeat it because it popped into my head just now. He said to his mother one day, you're going to let me grow up, huh? And the mother looked at the little boy with just a quizzed look on her face. Why? What are you talking about? Well, the last time my mommy uh, didn't let me grow up, she was mean. And the mother caught on real quick, and she said, I will let you grow up. We're going to have a good life. She said other words, but if you find it, you'll know exactly what that's about. Evidently, whether she killed him or neglected him, He left early. He never got to grow up. He picked her to
Mhm.
be safe. The child that experienced nightmares, like the YouTube story of James the Third, I just talked about that little man on fire, and could not sleep at all. Only after discovering what was going on in that life. And they even took the boy to the James the Third, James, the one that went in the plane crash, to the man's sister and gave enough testimony that the sister of the man in the plane crash recognized this boy as her brother. Goosebumps. Ah, this is another one. The child discovered by Dr. Jeffrey Long, Long, in India, who described the neighborhood village, knew who he had been, who killed him. After so much conviction, the family took him to the neighboring village. He described the man. They found the man who murdered him with a hatchet to his head. He then went to a spot in the dirt and dug up the said hatchet. And so the villagers all realized that the person that he was describing was actually the killer because he found the weapon. The man who killed him did confess because of this. I can't imagine. Only then did he go on to have a normal life. These stories you can all find, everybody. The client, child of a client who's stressed and seeing a small, boxy, yellow station wagon. Now, you imagine in the 50s and 60s, they had bigger cars. But I think in the 60s, they started making smaller station wagons.
Mhm.
And it wasn't like a big one, but he would travel with his mother in the car and he would find all kinds of yellow, smaller station wagons until the day he found the car, identical. How long, many years had passed, I don't know. I think he was like 15 or 20 years after he died, but he went hysterical, and the mother had a hard time controlling it, and it was terrifying for the boy. And what was also in the storyline is as he was always looking for the yellow station wagon, she had a hard time taking him over bridges. After the identifying of the correct, it's a, I remember seeing a picture of it. It was just a square, boxy looking station wagon. Nowadays we have all different sizes of them, so this was the smaller size. When he went over the bridge that reminded him the most of the one that they drove off of, it occurred to him that was the past. He got terrified. They called him to be down. They talked about it. And that's when he realized that was a different life because mother was smart enough to talk him through it. I love that story. This is also on YouTube. There's hundreds of them. So you're going to, these are the ones I'm remembering. Those intrusions, I would prompt the parent to have a quiet time with the child. So if you have a child that's demonstrated any of these, have a quiet time. If the child's sitting and drawing or coloring, bring over some more blank paper and sit down. Bring a cookie, bring orange juice, something else that calm, whatever the child likes. I wouldn't probably put something like Cheerios where they'd have to have both hands busy and say one day, I'd like to ask you about the before time. That's all. That's all you say. Can you tell me about the before time? Oh, and the child looks up and he hasn't been sleeping or she. You know that they have conversation. So that child will know what you mean. Draw me a picture, tell me a story, and then keep it all. Put it in the trunk somewhere so if the child grows up, if they want to investigate or if you have the inkling to do so, you have the backing information to do so. It's very amazing to me. Not only do we survive, and I'm seeing them all over the place. There's no way I can make up who's standing next to you. Char, was it your show? I've asked you before and I forget. The young man in Pennsylvania where I saw the miners all lined up outside his house. Was that you?
Yes.
Was that your was that your show?
Yes.
So this young
Yes.
young man called. I've done this on several shows, and all I have to do is really some. It helps to know north, south, east, and west. That's what I'll say. And when he was talking in the house, I backed up out of the house because I had the sense I should. I saw an arc of men from one side of the house rounded and to the other side, like 13 of them. And they're all standing in a row and they all look the same in uniform, in a dark outfit, like dark jacket and dark pants. And I thought it was so odd. And he said, "Oh my gosh." And Shar knows the story better than I do if I'm just recollecting it as we're talking here. He says, we're close to a mine. We're in a mining area up here. Not every place. Just because it's Pennsylvania. I live in California. I've never been to Pennsylvania. He said there was a terrible cave in, and a whole bunch of people, a bunch of men died. And I thought to myself, why are the men there? Well, if I can access time, so can they. They might have known I was going to call, and they need the recognition that they're okay and not in the mind anymore. So
Mhm.
someone might have said, let's all gather around. I don't know how this works, but why, and why would I see these men lined up, shoulder to shoulder, in an arc going from one side of the house to the back? And he'd be able to validate that there had been a terrible mining accident. Oh my goodness. That's not a intrusion or past life. It's a
Mhm.
point of saying these things are happening. If I can give you stories that make you question and look into it yourself, I've done a good job tonight, right?
Mhm.
Um, like any situation like this, to force a child into therapy. Oh, wait a minute. These are intrusions. I would prompt the parent to have a quiet time with the child, like I just said, while drawing or another quiet activity to tell of the before time. As with any situation like this, if it doesn't work out and there's a lot of issues, be careful not to force the child into therapy outside the home. Talk to the child one time, next time, to get the child the idea it's okay to talk. It's okay to have someone believe them. It's okay that you care. Honey, I've talked to you one, two, see, hold your fingers up, one, two, three, four, 5 times. You're only telling me so much of this story. I know somebody that will help you remember the story. You're not so frightened. You have to do your part to set up your child to be emotionally stable enough for a therapist's office or past life regression. I caution you not to get excited. I caution you not to distrust. I caution you to want to believe. Caution you to continue the belief in your child. It's often difficult if you don't have the faith that this is true. It doesn't matter what you feel, it's what the child feels. And this is your child to help raise to be an adult and have a happy life. That's your job. The child needs to understand the realness of the situation to accept outside help, the realness of the situation to them. I want to go on to the older child. And yes, there's such a thing as the hormonal years, the child that's
Mhm.
angry all the time that I don't want to do what you want me to do. I don't want to wear that to school. I'll never forget my daughter said, your granddaughter wants to start high school, ninth grade, with blue hair. And I went, oh, how fun. Mom, no. And I said to her, at what other time can she have blue hair? Well, she went through blue hair and purple hair. And she's healthy because mom said it was good. Why not identify who you are? Goth was very important a few years back, and I remember seeing all the kids in goth. It was very popular. It wasn't a past life intrusion. It was a fad, just like every generation has their stuff, right? Remember when the Beatles came
Right.
out? They had bubble hair, like a bowl put on their head, and everybody went, oh, look at all that hair. That's wrong. Well, who says it's wrong? Different
Mhm.
than a past life intrusion. This is a child not just born angry, always been angry. Okay? A child who does not take suggestions easily, no matter what you tell the child, has nothing to do with anything. They're kind of like shunned you. Everybody is shunned. I can't talk to you. I don't want to take, and they try to raise themselves and they pull themselves somewhere else. That,
Mhm.
yes, it could be mental illness, but not always. It's something else. They feel like they have to be hidden away. Oh my gosh. Has to be always their idea. Deliberate disagreements to suggestions of college or class directions. And this is interesting. Just this past weekend, I was told by somebody in my family, the comment was, because I was being told, and now I wish I had listened to his choice. I've heard that before from past life sufferers. just because they were told by that person. Sounds like unfinished business between the two of them. And it was very difficult. The adult who is such an introvert and has been all his her life to stay away from those who would take away their supposedly free will. That's the key. That's the key. A slave, captured and tortured in any era. Every era, we've had people imprisoned or well, I'm just going to mention things I don't want to talk about. But every decade, not decade, but every generation, every 50 years, we've had tourist attacks, we've had slavery in the past, we've had people indentured, we've had Shar, you want to say something?
No, 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 no. Go ahead. I was just suggesting.
Slave, a slave captured and tortured in the era sent away as a child to a military school. So we have families that can and have done in the past, in this decade and last decade, 100 years. We've had facilities to send children. But how about in the Greek and Roman era? How about the movie 300, where the Spartans would take a 7-year-old away from the mother and the father? Father usually promoted this and taken to the Spartan military bases. And if you've seen the movie 300, which I just recently did for the first time, it was terrible, well, beautiful and terrible at the same time. And these children that always survived being put into this camp. Can you imagine them born in this era? What kind of trauma would be unconsciously buried and because they got killed by another 7-year-old or beaten by the master who run the camp? So ever since time began, we've been doing that to our people. Sometimes they don't get over it. I have a friend that a while back, I can't remember if it was Karen or somebody else, saw, was it Karen? Saw me as a, um, now I'm hearing something, but anyway, saw me as a gladiator, as a warrior. Uh,
Sorry.
and I have a hard time hurting anybody. So, but yet, why not? Maybe that's why I don't like fighting. You know, if I were a man, would I go on to World War II D-Day? It was the thing to do. I listened to an interview because it's January 7th. D-Day was yesterday, I guess, 6th, and or this morning rather. And at the same time, when we are universally bound, we will do what we need to do because that's what we need to do. And a lot of the comments is that this was war, and everybody joined up, not knowing 18, 19, 20-year-olds the possibility of the outcome of their life. That's different than being imprisoned into a situation. A person who cannot stay with one partner, someone who was denied love, attention, or validation as a child, or perhaps a past life where none was given to them, and they are hungry for the attention that new lover relationship can be given. Because anybody that has started a relationship, there's all the bells and whistles and feel good. And yet, not a lot of people have that. And if you don't have it in a past life, you may come into this life and pick that person because of their opportunity to have all those flames. Something to think about. Any age group can have a reaction to a situation in a violent way. Lashing out in physical aggression can be a past life intrusion. Be careful of identify chemical imbalance versus a trauma reaction to violence from a memory flashback. Okay, so maybe if I was a warrior or a gladiator, what if I'm watching a movie with somebody or I go somewhere, all of a sudden I hear behind me in a toy store the battle happening, all of a sudden a past life memory just flashes in front of me. You think I could stand still and go, oh, that's fun? I may flash out. Do not think that because someone lashes out, it's all chemical imbalance. I think that sometimes these triggers can be so overtaking. And I'm going to give you a couple other ideas. All of us have experienced this. How about you're somewhere and something bang goes off really loud right next to you, and a car down the street, the tire just blows out? What's the first thing you think of? Most people would think of a gun, but not everybody. A lot of people will think of a bomb. The children in Middle East that are getting bombed, they're going to grow up burying these, and someone's going to shoot a gun off, or tire's going to blow out, and they're going to think bomb. This is a real thing. The smell of gunpowder or the smell of something burning. Um, Overcooked turkey, what that going to smell to them? A human? How about the Middle Ages? The battles and the towns on fire. How about World War II and the concentration camps, the flesh burning? What are you going to remember? A lot of us have those memories. I have a slight memory of being a teenage boy in a camp. I can't tell you more because I just had memory of it, had a dream of it, and I'm in a dark blue pants and top that fit someone much bigger, and I'm walking with a gun, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't feel like a I don't feel like a military person. So my idea, and I'd like to have this validated. Did they take prisoners and give them the job of monitoring the camps? Anybody out there know that? Because I see it so clearly. It doesn't seem right. Dark blue pajama looking much bigger, but I'm carrying a gun. Maybe that's why I don't like guns. Side of a military ship or a plane and being triggered by the idea of the war and violence, and those people can act out. Hearing something but not quite identifiable. Rushing of water in a park. How many have gone to, in Roseville, California, you have a water park and you're always hearing water. What if you're relaxing, you're just almost dozing off and one of the chairs watching the kids kind of go around? All of a sudden, there's a big rush of water. What if you have a flash of dying in a flood? Absolutely, that can happen because what it is you're caught off guard. Here's more intrusion symptoms and trauma. A child's aggressive against a particular person without any cause. Grandma and grandpa are visiting for the first time. We have a 2 and 3 year old. They walk in, and all of a sudden the child becomes hysterical. Never met them before. What's that about? Is that a past life reconnecting? Is that the first time that that child has seen that person and you look like someone in the past? They can't remember, and all of a sudden the child is going insane for no reason? Pretty tough how to get through that, especially if they're 2, 3, 4 years old. If they're old enough to talk, have them tell you a story. Aggressive response is a protective mechanism. It's all about protecting the me. They're not aware of anything other than their personage being harmed, the trauma of harm. So hysterical, running away, hysterical actions of any kind, screaming, yelling, throwing up, is a protective mechanism to drive someone away. Watch for that. If that's so, kind of ponder how to do it. Be very calm, be very soft, loving, and we'll talk about it. Take the child into another room, let it calm down. That child will forget. If the child is talking, sit them down. I'm so sorry this happened to you. So sorry, so sorry. Can you tell me what you were feeling or thinking or seeing, depending on the child's age? You can also get a toy, stuffed toy, and say, did that person hurt you? Remember, they've never met. Pretend this is that person. What happened in the past? Is the child afraid of the dark or an action unremembered? The child is screaming and yelling, I can't go there. I can't do this. I can't do that. Write it down. Figure it out later on. Calm the child. Protect the child. Important, important. I'm talking about children under 8, 9, and 10. At that age, most of the past life remembrances of the intrusions on LMNs, all the verification of children. That YouTube and Facebook have lots of channels, locations in Facebook, talking and having people write in the children's stories. It's just fascinating. I love it. Child who tells current mom, will you let me grow up this time? I just told you about that. So this child has gone into another lifetime because the one before. So the mom, smart mom, this is one of the YouTube ones. Mom questioning child, and child says, last time my mom was mean to me and I died. I picked you because you seem nice. Another story is a child said, I walked behind you in the snow and I decided I wanted to come to you. Wonderful story. And that was, I believe, the one where was going to be able to grow up. These memories may not stay silent even if you are not consciously aware moment to moment. Meaning, if, and I'm going to address this. There are so many people unaware that they're very intuitive. Sometimes my first husband said to me, I was raising my children. He says, "Oh, you have that woman's intuition." Yeah, right. And I seem to just know a lot. And one day, my son, we had horses and we had a lot of property, and he was down the hill with the fence line between us and our neighbor, also horse people. And my husband was with my son, and he was a skinny little 5, 6 year old. And they were touching the fence when it was turned off, and they were going to turn it back on. And there, my son turned his face and looked up at me. He come into the house. I was in the kitchen with my daughter, and he looked at me. He says, "When I'm outside, would you not talk about me?" He had just been talking about hello, right? And he's very, very intuitive. And I want to say we are more intuitive. How many you drive along the freeway and you know the police person's out there and you're going to slow down right now? You're going to go to the store to pick up that thing for dinner, and you just have a sense you're going to have to go one or more grocery stores. And you seem to know if you pull in, pull to the left, you're going to get that parking place. We are always in action. How about that time when you don't know where your child is? I was in Olive, Education Street in Auburn, California, off of Highway 49. And I went to work and I had the most disturbing day. I felt like something terrible was going to happen. And I didn't know what it was. And the police called me and said my daughter had been in a bad accident. We belonged to Kaiser, which is a 45-minute drive down the hill. But my daughter had been in a bad accident right up by Newcastle and Auburn, very close, about a half hour from this hospital. And they called me up, and she'd been in the hospital about a half hour to an hour, getting her stable so that it could take her by ambulance down to Kaiser in Roseville. And I seemed to know it. And at that time, I was not identified as, I think it was 80, 84 maybe, or 85. I got cancer in 87, left my husband 88. I got into this May 4th, 1990, and then someone labeled me a psychic medium, and I went, oh no. But all those years, I didn't know what it was. It was not common to be called psychic. It wasn't acceptable. But I had that, and I know a lot of you will say, I just had a sense something was wrong. We are all with the abilities. All you have to do is say, I accept it, I understand it, I'd like more. Just accept it. Therapy or hypnosis to unlock this of a past life memories to heal is important. Um, I'm going to go a little further with this. Therapy or hypnosis is fine if you truly believe there's something going on. If you think you've watched a movie and you're remembering the movie, great. Then identify it at that and that it's haunting you, this movie, and let it go. If you cannot let it go, I'm going to give you some ideas how to identify to be calm enough to either identify it and deal with yourself or get to a place where you're healthy enough to talk to a therapist. Yes, you can talk to me or somebody else and go to a past life and find it. But at that point, if you're not handling it well, I will bring you back as well as any other. Because at that point, we either calm you down, drop you deeper, identify what's going on, but then you may have to come back and back and back, depending on situation. That actually happened to me with somebody who um, uh, uh, they had trauma with a partner. I'll just put it that way. Um, Therapy or hypnosis, as with I do sessions, it needs to be 100% free will. You cannot have a wife or a spouse or partner say to you, "You're really screwed up on this. Why don't you just call Nancy or somebody else?" And the person who's experiencing it goes, "Ah, I don't want to." And women, we want our men to do this. You have fun with me, so you want your spouse or partner to, oh, you got to talk to Nancy. She's fun. And the man goes, oh, blah, blah, blah. Do not send them to me. I do not want that person in my phone call. You know why?
Mhm.
Because they go, this is baloney. I don't want help. I can have this dream. I can have this reaction, son. I'll get over it. They have to come to the realization they're getting beat up all the time. They need the help.
Mhm.
They got it. But you have to go there. So there's a difference between a therapist, hypnotherapist, and me. I'm primarily a counselor. I handle a lot of different issues. I'm not going into what I like to do. If I take you back, I can identify and we can talk about it. Tell you what I'm seeing. If you are not like Shar, she's a healer, not a sight. I have a lot of sight versus people who don't have vision. I can get you there. But if you need therapy over and over and over, then I will cautiously tell you, where do you live? I'll send you to a site to find somebody so that you can work it out if that's what's going to happen. I can't do it all. That's it. Um, Free will. Otherwise, your unconscious mind will block me from getting your answers or block me from entering time to see the issue. That's very important. I'm a time traveler. I'm a remote viewer. A lot of people just send me time in the past. Most people want the future. Where's that man I'm going to meet? What is it going to look like? What state am I going in? What's my next job? Oh, I just got divorced. You see the career path for me. Absolutely. Oh, my children. I had two pregnant clients a year or so back. I told them they're going to get pregnant, and they are. I'm just so excited. I described their babies. Oh, come on. That's fun. I love that. So anyway, I want to go on. There's a gentleman that I met 20 some years ago. Went to a conference in downtown Sacramento, and I have four or five of his books. Dr. Brian Weiss, Weiss, wrote M- Many Lives, Many Masters out of Florida. He had a gentleman he's an oncologist, proctologist, all those, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, a colleague of his said he had an assistant who had some issues, knowing that Brian Weiss did do some hypnosis work. And she had phobias, lots and lots of them. And his book, The Many Lives, Many Masters, addresses these issues. And I'm going to say some outrageous amount, 30 or 40 phobias. I mean, bizarre number. And so you need to read the book to find out exactly how many. And there was a lot of progress right away. There was some that he had trouble. There was one particular that bothered him a lot, and she needed his help. And he talked to her one day, frustrated. He just blurted out, "Go to the time of this issue." When she opened her mouth again, she was 2,000 years in the past. He didn't believe her. He thought it was all made up. Why not? I'm not, and I say same thing. There's a lot of people like myself to do this. And who am I to judge what you pick up? We come in at different angles in time. I may travel time a certain way, someone else will enter time a different way, or they don't want to look at it like I do. They want to look at it from a different direction. So from this, what he is, he does hypnosis. He helped her on those others, but to go back 2,000 years was beyond what he understood. She left, she comes back completely free of this phobia. Hmm. So should we try something else? So
Mhm.
she obliged, she sat down. She's finally freed of this. This is a fictional situation, and he's going to regress her again. And he was able to talk to her in the in between place, in between time of that and here. So he called it between lifetimes. And this was important because all of a sudden his deceased father showed up. His father was born in Israel and was given an Israel name. I'm not Jewish. I'm not from Israel. I could never pronounce these names. I'm not even going to try. But the father gave her, remember, she's between lifetimes and she's talking to Brian Weiss's father. She was able to pronounce correctly his Jewish name and saying and then she said, "Your father's telling me what was medically wrong with your newborn son that caused his death after birth." And it was such an unusual birth defect. He now tells everybody up to that point, no one knew that he had lost a child. The boy's heart was backwards like a chicken, and he actually said it that way. Brian Weiss was so impressed that he did researched. He ended up changing his career. He left the medical world and became a full-time hypnotherapist, past life hypnotherapist, um, writing additional books. And I'm going to give you many. It says, Same soul, many bodies. Messages from the masters. Only love is real. I do have this on audio, a regression to times and places. I've given it to my husband and a couple of friends. Bought them. I didn't pass around the same one. Through time into healing. Great. Miracles happen. The transformational. There is many other books, and he does have it in multiple languages. Um, there's a term I like, and he didn't use it, but I like it. I'll add it to this. You can look it up. Past life regression is karmic regression. And the karmic, I've said earlier, I don't believe the karmic situations go from lifetime to lifetime. I think the end result of that life can travel from lifetime to lifetime. But you may see past life regression titled, named as karmic regression. That be for you to realize that situation from one lifetime to another intrusion can be corrected or looked at. So um, I just want to mention sometimes karmic relation regression is often thought of as past life regression. Um, do you think you have a past life issue intrusion? Um, on your own, I recommend if you want to find out if you have certain issues, I want you to think about it, write it down, and I want you to learn how to meditate. Soft music, nice environment. I have a hard time sitting. I squirm in the chair talking to you right now. I just not someone who can meditate well, but I have in the past. You get to a place where time disappears and it gets really, it goes very quickly, and you're almost in a hypnotic state, I call it. And I have in the past, in the very early 90s, meditated and have wonderful stories to tell people, but not tonight. Meditation to relax in a moment of peacefulness. Recall the intrusion moment or your perceived idea of intrusion. And I want to tell you one of mine. So in the very early 90s, uh, I have all my life been fearful of fire. And to this day, and back up because I want to mention this. I'm going to talk about something here. But when we moved down from Hornbrook, which is north and east of Yreka, Yreka, look up Black Mountain, Hornbrook, California. We were at the 3,000-foot elevation. And 4 or 5 years back, we had a terrible fire. And the police people came and evacuated everybody, particularly us on the mountain, because a fire had started on the other side. And we left and we were gone for 3 days. We came back and we had a house. And since then, my fear is much less, except for electrical. And I got so much I got so much computer stuff that still bothers me. But all my life, I've been afraid of fire. So in the early 90s, I wanted to know what that was. And in meditative state, my fear of fire was shown to me. I saw myself, and I've mentioned a few times, I didn't even own it, but I am tonight. I saw myself as a larger man, kind of like what we call the dad bod
Mm-hmm.
nowadays. I don't think I'm older because my hair is not gray, but I feel like I'm looking in the past. I'm leaning up, I'm actually sitting and leaning. I feel myself against the tree, the bark of the tree, and it's rough. I feel like I'm dying. I don't see burn on me, so it might be smoke. I'm watching a really big barn, probably 100 feet away, burning. And I'm so distressed because I am but my house, I don't see anybody around me. I'm watching my burn barn down with all my animals in it. Um, so I witnessed a death. I knew I was dying. I couldn't move, but I was witnessing fire, and it was so distressful. I'm looking down and I have dark pants on. I have layers on, a shirt with a vest of some sort. I'm larger. I'm a larger person. I feel like I'm bigger all over. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but if I'm too heavy and I'm breathing deeply because of movement of working, if I had hay feels or something else, you'd think I'd be thinner. So maybe he was just a cattle person. I just don't have any idea. Or horses. But I'm so distressed because of the fire. So that's where it comes from. Keep in mind while relaxing that you are safe. I might have been distressed, but I realized I was watching, feeling it. It wasn't me. That this intrusion cannot hurt you. You only want to remember as a past issue. And after coming back, I, con- I encourage people who do this because I've taught people to do this is journaling. Get a binder, paper and pencil, write everything you can down. Just keep it. What you're doing is you're taking it out of your spirit and putting it through your arm, into your fingers, into the ink, into the paper. You are going to release it. You do not need to carry it anymore with you. If you want to remember it 10, 15, 20 years down the road, you can go back and read it. If you released it, I call it ceremony. You've heard of people writing something and put on fire, writing something, put it in a box and throw it in the ocean. However, you do a release ceremony, whatever you want to do, I like just writing it down. Okay, so that you can keep it. It's just part of who you are is your past. Recognizing what happened, as Dr. Weiss found out, is a first step to releasing the trauma. So he would bring a trauma up and say, you were only witnessing, and I do that when I do a past life regression. You are standing in front of a door of glass. However big you want it, the glass has at the top or the whole panel. You are watching a past life. You're not involved with it. And I've done that so many times that really works. It really is better. And unless you're doing somebody like Shar, where she couldn't, she saw nothing but feel. I had to have her feel her legs. What do you feel? Feel the ground. What does it feel like? I had to take her there. Uh, okay, the next way might be real fun for you is if in the 90s when I first started doing this, we had bedroom closets with big mirrors on them. Oh, it was very popular. But there's ways you can get a mirror nowadays. Get a mirror with a candle. And I would say one of those little tea light candles with a little tiny, just put it on the dish so you don't drop it. Light it and it flickers a little bit. Sit in front of a mirror, cross-legged on the floor. Put a pillow under you if it feels better that way. And look in the mirror. You don't want to be about 3 feet away and ask to see your past lives. The first time I tried that, I saw a Chinese man. I go, really? I'm American Indian and I'm Chinese. Actually, my father's side was English, Irish, Scots, Swedish, and Norway. My mother's side were cowboys and Indians. Good for Grandpa. He married an Indian, right? So, and so I saw a Chinese man. I was amused, and I have yet to find out why that's important. But I saw him, and then there was others. We are all cultures, all ages, both men and women, all these lives. Do I believe it? I'm not going to say no. Why not? I'm not going to say you can't be that. Why not? Enjoy the opportunity to discover who you were. If you see a situation sitting in front of a mirror with a small candle, quiet room, peaceful environment, ask to see the face of the person, oops, who suffered. And when I did that, I saw an old Chinese guy. Oops, here we go. Then remember that face and find out what happened to release that lifetime. So, in the next time without the candle, you sit in the room and you are very peaceful, very quiet, meditative state. Bring that man's face or woman's face to you and say, show me that life. In a regression where death is explored, the death, like if I died in the fire, you need to have a ceremony, you need to go through the death that needs to be carried out to release a lifetime. When I talk to Shar and many others, they just want to see the event. Then I say, you're going to sleep. We're going to go through that death. You're going to wake up on the other side. So I bypass that life. Well, all we want to know is the experience. You don't have to suffer with death. And, every generation has the deaths. We had COVID. How do you think I want to in the future take someone through a death of COVID if I was 100 years from now? Pretty tough. Witnessing that death, you'll need to be calm and with the understanding nothing you see can hurt you now. So in a past life regression, I say to these people, in a comfortable state, they are to raise their arm if something stresses them. Use the act of raising the arm and shifting your body breaks you out of that. If stress, PTSD actions, seek out a past life therapist to help you release. If you cannot do this, if you cannot get past this, if it's traumatizing to you, but you believe it's true, then I encourage you to see a therapist to take you through several cases, situations of past life regression to help you calm down so you can witness to death. And I'm not going to plant a seed, but what if you're murdered? But you need to know who it is. And I've joked with people. I was married 21 years the first time around. He became a police person, an investigator, undercover, and it wasn't easy. And then I got cancer. Do I want to go in past life and see what we were to each other? Oh no, no. That life can stay where it is, but maybe someone would want to know. Now, the next section here, have you benefited from a past life intrusion? I'm just going to give a couple of examples here because we're running out of time. When I lived in Arizona, Tucson, Arizona, we lived in I've always lived in really big houses, and this time we had gotten rid of some furniture. It was my turn to buy new furniture. Larry, my husband, had bought big Western furniture, and I wanted furniture. And for the life of me at that time, I thought, I just had to have French furniture. I mean, come on. If anybody knew me, I'm so country Western, cowboy boots and relaxed clothing. And, just when I give talks, yeah, I'd put a jacket on and pants. And, but French furniture, I had to have it. I bought the office furniture, but it was all wood. It was huge. It was like that. But the rest of the house, I still have it. And I remember thinking, it's not like I was in love with it so much as I had to have it. New, expensive, duh. And there we are. But that was about 10 years ago. About a year and a half ago, I started having flashbacks. Guess what? A Frenchman. And it was a time, and I did some research in the era of 1790 to 1805, about 15 years. In France, they had silky, remember they wore, we would, women call them pedal pushers or slacks cut off at the knee. In those years, they would have soft material. And the day that I am this person, this man, he's looking down on what he's got on, and he's kind of like, I look good. He had blue silk pants on to the knee, and they're tied on the side. He has white socks on. He has brown shoes on, but they're fancy. And what really amazed me is that um, the shoes are pointed. Shark, can you hear me still? Can you hear
Pardon?
me?
Yeah.
Can you frozen? Huh?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Um, I'm going to put this bell. Okay, I went, whoops. Anyway, so I started seeing him in the light blue silky to the knee, white stockings and pointed shoe. And I went, oh my gosh, I was a French person. Now I didn't tell you the table I got, that real fancy table with the chairs, had a chess set that sat on top of it. And they're gold lame, and they're about a foot tall. And I had never played chess, but I had to have it. Come to find out, the early 1750s, chess was introduced to Europe or to France. And here I was needing a chess set. I love this stuff. The next flash I had was myself in a carriage, and I was coming down the boulevard with big buildings, homes. And at the end of this boulevard, at the end where it came to an end, was a turn to the right. And as I got closer, the first house you can't see when you're going straight down to the right, facing me was a three-story gray blue building with the attic windows that popped out, three of them going across, and that's where I lived. And I knew I was hurrying home. I had a son, and that I was hurrying home to. So I lived in this great big building, and I went, well, that just explains a lot. So my grandson-in-law said he'll teach me. Finally, I got 3 full programs how to play chess, but I have got to learn chess in this lifetime. Guess what? because if I don't, I'm going to take that into the next lifetime. The wanting to learn piano and chess haunted me most of my life, and now it makes sense. Who knew, right?
Right.
And that's a positive memory. It was very fun. I'm going to bring up another one that's really different. And then the one after that is exceptional. World War II, General George S. Patton had a strong belief in reincarnation and could recall 8 different lifetimes. Type in General George S. Patton belief in reincarnation. Amazing. You'll get, because I looked him up today, because I have always known this, but I've never done the research, and it's amazing. Um, Carl F. Hollenbach, Holllenback, compiled Patton's lives, and this is the name of a book: Patton, colon, many lives, comma, many battles. Um, and I love this. I love this. Patton's, this is from, some of these words are from we are the mighty.com. We are the mighty. So it's a military website. Patton's prowess on the battlefields made him the most feared Allied general among the Nazi leadership. General Patton's own intelligence officer remarked that his sixth sense was often way ahead of the intelligence coming in, like he knew things before they got told. Perhaps this truly is a skill required across lifetimes of military experience. Patton wrote, through a glass darkly. Repeat that, it's hard to hear. Through a glass darkly, Darkly, while commanding the Third Army in Europe, wrote being a Greek, um, I could say it earlier, but I'm tired now. The Greek, and then I'm going to spell the name of this group. Hittite, Hoplite, fighting the Persians under Darius. 5 months he conquered, laid siege to Ty. He, the 8 lifetimes, I read them quickly, and they were amazing. He was always warring. So he has, and I've said this to people, a warring soul. They go from one lifetime to another. I talked to a man 3, 4 years ago, and every time I thought of him, we did past life prayers. He did several. He was always warring. Uh, 2 or 3, 4 of them were in England Druid. He was always a primitive warrior of some sort. Um, that just popped in my head. I wonder if he's thinking, well, if you're watching this, if you remember, call me, let me know how your life is. You just popped into my head. I said this to clients, and the person continues on that path, and I'm not sure what that means. Um, um, so this is a one I really wanted to tell you. There is, once you go to Wikipedia, and I want you to type in Jenny is her first name, her last name, Cockwell, Cockell. And this has been in the news for decades. She's probably 65 or 70-year-old now. When she was a child, she told her mother she didn't live there. And mother said, "What are you talking about?" She says, "I live somewhere else." And so she started drawing the town roads, and she started telling her mother that she is missing her children. And she would talk about her children individually. She would talk about her life there, and the mother wrote everything down. I mean, binders of stuff. And she was very interesting. Well, when she became an adult, mother gave her everything. And of course, that sparked her interest in finding out where she was from. Um, I didn't write down the town. I wish I had. Uh, anyway, she remembered a pier that she would walk out on. Uh, England has harbors everywhere. And I don't know if it was Scotland or not, but it was the most northern part of England that she was from, that she had this past life. And she would remember her son coming back from work. Remember in those years, in the 1800s, early 1900s, children worked. Okay, so she had children. She had 8 or 9 children, and the oldest would work. As an adult, she found out the town and the house she lived in, that she had died in childbirth and had left 7 or 8, 9 children. I can't remember now. She found most of them and had a relationship with the surviving. So you got to look up Jenny. Last name is Cockell. And they did write a book, movie of her. I'm trying to go real quick to it. Um, Children of the, I, that's not here. Anyway, if I come across, I've been slipping. Story of Jenny Cockwell, modern day story of yesterday. The book was called Yesterday's Children, and in 2000, a TV movie of the same title with Jane Seymour. Uh, and the lady, Jenny, also authored another book called Past Lives, Future Lives. Very interesting. Very interesting. Um, I want to go and back up here a little bit. I kind of get scared around. There's a lot of movies out. Um, I have seen most of these because I look for something like this. And I want to humor you. There's a couple here that are absolutely my favorite. You'll see that I wrote them down first. In 1978, Heaven Can Wait. And I want you to look up
Yes.
several others have been made after that. Pierce Rock was the last one. He was so cute in it as a boxer. Heaven Can Wait is about an athlete who on his bicycle enters a tunnel and there's a big crash. The angel from heaven is to greet him. And and I have seen this. A woman was being murdered so she could be assaulted. And I saw the woman get murdered, and the family didn't know I knew this. Of course, how would I know? The dead sister came and reached in her chest and said, her chest, and she said, to looking at me, she said to the sister who's dying, "You don't have to be here for this." And she just pulled her right out of her body. Well, in Heaven Can Wait, the same thing happens. The angel comes in and takes the spirit, but he would have survived. So he gets to heaven and he says, "You got to put me back." So the movie is about him finding a body that he can live in for the rest of his life. It's wonderful. And Shirley MacLaine's brother, do you remember what his name is? He plays the part. Um, my mind just went blank.
Warren
The
Beatty.
next one is everybody needs to see is Made in Warren Beatty is the Heaven Can Wait actor.
Yeah.
Made in Heaven in 1987, about
Yeah,
a
that's a
young
good one
man
too.
who dies and goes to heaven. Yeah, he's a guitar player. He gets killed and he goes to heaven, falls in love with a spirit that's never been born. And they start a relationship, they get a home in the countryside, and she says to him one day, "They tell me I have to go to Earth, I'm going to get born." And he goes, "No." So he searches for God and he has this big God, listen, we have fallen in love. And God looks at him and says, "I will send you back to Earth. I will give you 30 years to find her." And so the journey is very interesting. Lighthearted, and of course they do find each other, but the way they find each other is fabulous. You need to watch that. Made in Heaven, 1987. This is actually the next one of my absolute uh, best movie. I just Cheryl. Chances are, 1989. Write that down. Chances are, with Sybil Shepherd in it. Wonderful. Ryan O'Neal, uh, just fabulous. A young man is going to propose to his girlfriend. Or let's see, how did this work? Anniversary. It was anniversary, and Sybil Shepherd's going to the restaurant, and she sees her husband across the street. He's a little late because he's purchased some earrings for her. As he waves to her and they throw a kiss, and she's behind the glass in the restaurant. She can't wait. He runs across the street and gets killed by a car. Unbeknownst to the husband, she was going to tell him that night that she was pregnant. So the young man uh, goes to heaven and he says, "Wait a minute, that's not right. You can't take me." And he turns around and he sneaks back to Earth without his forgot shot. He grows up, so he goes to college and he gets a job at the newspaper, right? So Ryan O'Neal is the manager of the newspaper place, and he gets a liking to him right away. He takes him to his friend's house for a barbecue. It's Sybil Shepherd. It's it's great, and she has a daughter. Guess what happens? He likes the daughter. They're going to start a relationship, and this is where the past life intrusion comes in. Is that during the course of the barbecue, he starts remembering, and he sits down even at the piano later on. and plays her favorite song. I love this movie. Chances are 1989. Another one that I particularly really did like, Dead Again, 1991. This is a negative past life conclusion. Terrible, terrible. This woman has had an accident and she's forgotten who she is. They put her in like a convert with nuns and everything so that they could take care of her. And so the city or state, I don't know who it is, hires a private detective to help her find her identity. And he takes the case on because when she comes in, he feels so drawn to her. In the course of the movie, they find where she lived. When they go into her apartment, the place is covered with statues and paintings, and one smack in the middle of the room of scissors, huge, big scissors. Yuck, right? And in the course of the movie, and I do bring this up, Robin Williams has a small but important role in it. And they went through and they go past life regression. Unbeknownst to them, the past life regressionist also has had a past life. The detective and the past life regressionist and her are all intertwined in a past life, as though in that life ending for those two adults, they come forward and they meet the living person from that lifetime. It's wonderful. Dead Again, 1991. Of course, one of my favorites is What Dreams Can Come. Reincarnation
Hmm.
implications are at the end of the movie. The rest of the movie is absolutely gorgeous. Robin Williams gets killed in his heaven, as I believe we all create our heavens. Mine will be a running trail with my dog from the past, big black lab. And in this, he is welcomed into heaven in his wife's paintings. His wife's paintings are his heaven. If you see the movie, just for those are visual, yeah, absolutely gorgeous. One that was distressing to me, but wow, impactful. Reincarnation of Peter Proud. Great, absolutely great. I've already mentioned the Jenny wrote her own book, Yesterday's Children. Same movie for TV with Jane Seymour. Excellent. Look that one up. One I want to mention, I have a lot of favorites because I list the ones I like. On a clear day, you can see forever with Barbara Streisand. I love that reincarnation. She is engaged to a young man who's going to have an opportunity for a promotion, and it's going to be a big dinner. And he has given up smoking because in the 70s, 78, I think this movie was made, she smoked like like an old sailor. And so she says, I'm going to find a hypnotist. I'm going to go get done with these cigarettes so I don't embarrass you at the dinner. And she rushes to the college and she finds a professor and she walks in and she's going to be quiet or she's right at that door. She's going to be real quiet. And he says, I'm going to hypnotize somebody in the audience so you know it's real. So he talks a young man in the front row to get up on stage and he hypnotizes him. Unbeknownst to him, he's hypnotized Barbara Streisand. And he falls in love in the course of the movie. He falls in love with her, but not her, the woman from the past. He falls in love with her prior life, and then she finds out. It's wonderful. Maybe you don't like Barbara Streisand. I do. The course, the storyline is fabulous because in the process of past life regression to get her to quit smoking, he accidentally stumbles upon a woman from England in the 1700s, and he falls in love with her. Wonderful. These are movies I haven't seen, and I'm always don't know. But I heard this was wonderful. It's called A Dog's Purpose. Who says that animals can't be reincarnated? I have three people, a guy in Texas, dog lover. I have someone here in California, a dog lover, and they recognize the traits of certain animals that have come back to them. I know Cindy wouldn't mind my saying she's a horse person and she's had a couple horses who've come back. How do you know? Mannerisms, the way they walk, something that cannot be hereditary. And so, dog breeders, you have a dog that seems to know and recognizes the ring and it's only 4 months old, tell me that's not past life. These are names of stories, movies I haven't seen. Past life, comma, past lives. There's another one, past lives, parallel lives. There is a second one out. Think past lives, parallel lives might be of European or Asian. I don't know. Second one is called Past Life. Another one you've heard of, Fountain, Birth, After Dark, Horror Fest, Reincarnation, Cloud Atlas, Origins. I might have seen Origins. It's a scientific, it's about a gentleman that believes that we can trace ourselves from the past by biological means. So his partner or someone he's cared about had the most unique blue eyes. So he searches the world for someone born with those eyes. My eye color is almost black. Be hard to find me again. I mean, a lot of people with darkest brown to black eyes. They're not black. I think my mother might have had black eyes, um, black irises. So Origins is about a girl he finds who is this partner, but he leaves her alone because she's entitled to the life she then chooses. But she has those same unique patterned blue-green colored eyes. Beautiful. Seems like I remember that, but I put it down because I can't quite remember everything. So on YouTube, go to the channel LMN, Verification of Children's Past Lives,
Hmm.
Ghost in My Child. So many I can't even tell you. Facebook, how many pages are now dedicated to the interest of past lives for children? Absolutely. It's wonderful, wonderful. Um, I think I'm done.
Okay.
8:07. Wow, no wonder I'm tired. That was a lot.
That was good though.
Hope you enjoyed
Excellent.
it.
That was excellent.
It's what I love.
Monday we're shifting gears. Monday we're going to be talking about the Alien Hybrid program. Yvonne Smith is going to be joining me, and boy does she have some interesting stuff to say about that. Now she even talks about the bases on Mars and the underground bases here on Earth, and military people working in them. So, all of you, excuse me, you guys gotta just bear with me. My pain level is probably about a 15 today. Um, yeah, so she's going to be talking about about the the main hybrid program, in addition
Oh,
to being aboard the alien ships, being underground, being on Mars. So she's got a lot of stuff to talk about where that's concerned. 6:30 p.m. Pacific on Monday. Sunday I'll be back, 6 p.m. Pacific. What are we going to talk about? Werewolves. So we're going to be back on reading that werewolf book.
ooh,
So I want to
good,
thank everybody
good.
for watching tonight. And I want to thank everybody who's going to be watching, because I know there's people that are going to watch this after the fact. And whoever is over on the RSS feed, hopefully you stuck with us through the first part of the show. You know, it's the first time ever that we're broadcasting through via RSS. So hopefully you liked the show. So I want to thank you guys as well, and I do want to thank everybody for their support. Everybody on the RSS feed. We're getting some incredible numbers and downloads coming out of there. Thank you guys so much. Everybody at Facebook, everybody at TikTok, everybody at YouTube, everybody at Twitch, everybody at Twitter. Thank you. Thank you for having faith in us as a show. You know, it's been 4 years of a slow climb, and finally it's looking like things are starting to take off the way I had hoped they were supposed to. So I'm real excited about it. I think Nancy is too. We've been working real hard at this. So I want to thank every one of you. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. I know I will, but I will be back again on Sunday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, to read from the Werewolf book. So Nancy, how can people find you?
My sites are listed under the description of the show tonight. But for those on RSS, it's my name, nancymatz.com, Nancy Matz author. And on YouTube, it's Nancy Matz Psychic. And please give us a thumbs up if you enjoy this. And I have to say, I've been with Char over a year and a half. I think I have close to 100 shows with her. So she's put them together, but you can also find them at my site, just because if you don't, one or the other, doesn't matter. She gets a credit if you watch them at my site also. Okay.
Okay.
All
All
right.
All
Thank you,
right,
everybody.
guys.
Give us a thumbs up if you learned anything or liked it.
With that being said, see you guys Sunday, 6 p.m. Pacific. Bye.